Very good morning to you. If you're just joining us, this is Newsfeed AM. Let's talk to you about this. As Zimbabwe enters a hard lockdown, desperate citizens of the neighbouring country are trying to cross the Beitbridge Border post in Limpopo to try and get into South Africa. Videos are surfacing of crowds of migrants waiting to be processed at that border. Similar scenes were witnessed last year when the country announced its first hard lockdown. Now, to expand on this, the unfolding situation at the Beitbridge Border post in Musina, we're joined by our reporter Hitekani Magwedze, who had been stationed there for some time. Back with us in studio, Mr. Magwedze, thank you very much for your time. What were your experiences there? What did you see?
Well, Koli, when we were there, we were specifically there for the visit by the Minister of Home Affairs, Aaron Motsoaledi. And that is, of course, in trying to answer the call of South Africans South Africans calling for proper border management. We've seen people dying on the Limpopo River trying to cross from Zimbabwe into South Africa. We've seen people scaling the Beitbridge itself to access the Limpopo site. So we've seen, various ways in which Zimbabweans are trying to cross into South Africa, and most of which have not been legal. So there has been a call for further border or a look into border security and border management.
Yeah, I suppose that situation worsens now when the Zimbabwean government has effected a hard lockdown. People are desperate to cross into South Africa. Without us assuming, you have access to some of the migrants who are trying to make their way into South Africa. What are they telling you? What is it that they are escaping from?
It's really the same picture. It's just getting worse in that in the first lockdown last year, we spoke to a number of them some of whom work along the Limpopo River, transporting goods to and from Zimbabwe, that there are no work opportunities in Zimbabwe. The hunger and poverty levels are escalating. In fact, the Zimbabwean government itself said that about 7.6 million Zimbabweans are going into hunger. That's because of the economic situation in Zimbabwe, but because of the effects of COVID-19 as well, not forgetting the drought that has hit Zimbabwe as well. So quite a number of factors that are affecting Zimbabweans, but overall the blanket matter is that they won't be allowed to be roaming around and trying to find ways to make money because of the lockdown. So what is in fact happening now is that Zimbabweans are trying to leave the country. Some of whom made money from informal trading are using that money to come into South Africa to either buy and go back and sell goods or come and try and find work.
It's a terrible situation, Hitekani, because the World Food Programme, one of our reports from our correspondent there, Xolesani Ncube, suggesting that a number of Zimbabweans, in fact thousands of them, might face food starvation. And then you have the issue of the cyclones as well that periodically hit that country. I remember Cyclone Idai early last year. There was another one that was predicted.
Exactly,
Talk to us about the relations between the two governments. The traffic congestion we saw just as we headed towards the 25th of December last year, and then, of course, New Year's. That traffic congestion, did you get a sense that the two governments are working seamlessly together to try and resolve it? Or is there some kind of standoff between South Africa and Zimbabwe?
Well, we spoke about that with the Minister of Home Affairs, and he pointed to the recently announced and signed free trade agreement that various countries in the continent have agreed to that will ease border access and movement. It certainly does sound like a really great idea, but on the ground, practically right now, there doesn't seem to be a proper working relationship for such a plan to take effect and take effect efficiently. That kind of plan needs countries of both governments to be functioning so well oiled that there won't be any friction between them or space or loopholes for corruption, which is also a matter that the Home Affairs Department was pointing to, saying that they have heard numerous reports from soldiers working along the border that the soldiers across the Limpopo riverbank are the ones facilitating the crossover of people into South Africa illegally, saying that they have heard reports that they are being paid to assist them to get boats to come into South Africa. It is indeed bribery. And there are equal reports that some South African soldiers are also partaking in these. It's not far-fetched in that we've seen a huge number of these people come in. And in fact, we've spoken to some of these individuals who work in coordinating or smuggling people from Zimbabwe into South Africa.
And then to top it all off, you have some syndicates, because I can't imagine this to be one person manufacturing these fake COVID-19 certificates for people to try and access South Africa. The Health MEC in Limpopo on the South African side talking about a number of these fake certificates that they've gotten a hold of and, of course, confiscated. Any ideas as to where these are being manufactured? Is it South Africa or Zimbabwean side? You've already painted a picture of a bribery situation, basically a corrupt relationship that clearly exists either from the Zimbabwean side to the South African side. Them taking money, officials taking money from very poor people who are desperate to make these crossings.
That does seem as though there is printing of these certificates on either side. From the investigations that we've been able to do, conduct there, it does seem as though people are finding or trying to find these documents on either side. But it's also important to point out that the reason people are trying to get these documents and cross illegally is because, one, we understand that it takes about 3 to 4 years to get a passport in Zimbabwe for someone. We have Zimbabweans who came into South Africa legally, but their passports have either been lost or expired. But they know that if they go back into Zimbabwe, they'll have another 3 to 4 years of waiting without any finances coming in to assist their families. So you have people who are stuck currently in South Africa who cannot go back home and renew the passports. Secondly, the documents or the process of getting that COVID-19 certificate involves finances of which most of these people are desperate for. So there are those factors that force them, you almost become compassionate because people are being pressed hard to the wall. No food, no finances, no documents.
And these are people with babies, some of them, on their backs. The Minister of Home Affairs here in South Africa, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, in December during that congestion, very briefly, he described the situation there as a crisis, while others said it was a humanitarian situation. Would you describe this current situation where there's a wave of people who are now trying to desperately cross over as the lockdown is being effected on the Zimbabwean side?
I would certainly say so. I mean, I remember around 2009 or so, going to 2010, we had a similar situation where we had thousands of Zimbabweans crossing the border into South Africa on a daily basis. It's a similar situation right now where people are running away from a crisis, and you have a situation where the small border town of Messina is trying to carry all these people. the hospitality or the medical industry there, or the hospital there, is inundated. It cannot take the numbers that are coming in, and the crime there is obviously going up as well. The service delivery is broken to its knees because it's just servicing too many people.
Yeah. Itekana Makwetsa, thank you very much.